And we are live. Welcome to Straight Talk with Alyssa Thorne. Today we have the wonderful person named Paul Forchione, and we're going to be talking about mindset and his challenge with, well, it's not, it is a challenge from other people's point of view, but from your point of view, it is not a challenge, having cerebral palsy. And you're going to tell us about that. You're going to tell us how, when you were young, how they were telling your parents how you were never going to walk, and you're going to explain to us how your parents parented so that here you are walking and talking. So let's go.
All right, Carly. Well, first off, thank you for having me and having this opportunity to talk with you and your audience. I'm really happy to do so. As you mentioned, yes, I was born with cerebral palsy, and if your audience doesn't know what cerebral palsy is, it's lack of oxygen to the brain at labor. And as a result of this lack of oxygen at the brain at labor, it can leave one side of the body paralyzed. It can affect your speech. And there's different severities to cerebral palsy depending on how much oxygen you lose at birth. And when I was born, I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And naturally, my mother was concerned about that. So she took me to the doctor, and that's when I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And this first doctor thought the cerebral palsy was so severe that he thought I would never, ever be able to walk. And it would be a good idea to get me in a wheelchair because that was going to be my life going forward. And I've had many conversations with my mom about that. And naturally, when she heard that news, she cried herself to sleep, wondering what the life was going to be for her baby boy. She told me the next morning when she was getting me ready for the day, she said that I gave her a look. A look if to say, Mom, don't let this be my story. I want to walk because I'm an infant. I can't talk at this time. And that mama bear inside of her started raging, and she got not a second opinion, not a third opinion, not a fourth opinion, 5 opinions. Finally finding a physician willing to help. And with this physician's help and me doing physical therapy 5 to 6 times a week, I was walking between age 2 and 3 a feat that 4 of the doctors said it was impossible for me to do. I was doing, which was obviously a miracle in itself that way. But when I was early on in my life, I had very limited mobility in my right side, especially in my foot. So I was put into soccer roughly around 5, and at the time I probably could run, I don't know, about 25 to 50 yards before my leg would give out. And then I remember one day after practice, I was gonna go to my mom because I was fed up. Kids are making fun of me. I'm not having fun. Kids are playing soccer around me. I was gonna go to my mom and say, Mom, I'm not playing soccer anymore. And I remember what my mom told me because it stuck with me to this day. She said, Paul, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that is fine. But you need to honor your commitments. So you need to finish out that soccer season. And if you don't want to play soccer after that, that is your prerogative. And I'm 45 years old and I haven't played soccer since. But I've honored my commitments. And I got a pretty big break not too long after that soccer season. I had surgery on my right foot, and it tightened up the tendon, give me a little bit more spring in my step on my right side. This surgery was an extreme game changer for me. I didn't know how big it was until I switched schools around this time. And my first day of PE, physical educations, the teacher, we did go through the stretches, and then the teacher goes, okay, guys, run a lap. And I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. My leg's going to give out, and everybody's going to see that, and they're going to start to laugh at me. Because the surgery was different, I remember going past that point where I normally have to stop. And I remember saying to myself, come on, Paul. You got this, bud. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it cool, but on the inside, I was like, yes, 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 yes. It was my first time in my young life where I fit in. I didn't stand out. I was just like everybody else. And things definitely got easier for me, but they weren't, I wouldn't consider them easy. And what I mean by that was my parents got divorced when I was about 12 years old. And as a result, I had to move and I had to go to a different school. And just being 12 and going into a new school is going to be tough just because Kids are going through hormonal changes. They're becoming teenagers. Not only that, they've formed their groups. They already have their cliques, and they don't have any time for anybody new. So just being a new kid alone is going to be tough in that situation. But I'm a new kid who walks with a limp, holds his right arm differently. And so when I got into the school, I was bullied, teased, spit on, tackled, you name it, they would do it to me. It was a really rough time in my life. And while I'm going through all the struggles, I was raised Catholic, so I had to take an assessment test to they're going to place me when I got to high school. Well, I don't do well on tests where you take a test and they see how smart you are. I'm a person that has to study and put in the work. That's just the way my brain works. That's never been a skill of mine where I could just take a test and ace it. That's not me. I have to study. So that type of test, you don't study. You take the test. And unfortunately, I didn't do well on the test. And I met with the principal, the future principal, and with my mom to kind of go over what was going to happen when I got to high school. And the principal sets us down, looks at the testing scores, and says, I don't really see college coming from him, and we're just going to put him at the lowest level possible because school's really not for him. So now I think I'm not very smart. I'm going back to a school that doesn't accept me, crying myself to sleep at night. I had really thoughts, my young head, I'm embarrassed to say, but I had thoughts on ending it because I'm not having this life. Nobody wants to be my friend. I'm having all this trouble, and I just remember thinking about my mom a lot when I had those thoughts, and I thought, man, uh, what a horrible thing to do for my mom is do something drastic like that. She's worked so hard with me. She's the reason why I'm walking, the reason why I'm at where I'm at right now, and that can't be my option. So I said, well, what else could my options be? And I thought, well, what if I kind of concentrate on an activity or a goal, or I really didn't name it, but I needed something to occupy my mind, so that I wasn't consumed with all this outside noise, this bullying and teasing that I was facing at the time. And I thought, well, what could that be? And I loved sports. I played sports all through my life, and I thought baseball in particular. So I said, what if I set a goal for myself to make or try to make my varsity baseball team in high school? So I started playing ball all year round, all 4 seasons, and this really changed things for me. One was I was starting to play baseball with the same kids over and over again, and two, I had coaches that really took a liking to me as a result because I was playing so much ball. And I remember being raised by a single mom. Sometimes my mom couldn't pick me up on time, and the coach would stay after with me, and he would tell me, Paul, you're not going to just sit here and wait for your mom. I'm going to hit you ground balls. You're going to throw bullpen sessions. You're going to run laps. You're going to do extra work. We're going to make this time productive. And on top of that, this coach would always ask me this question, and he'd say, Paul, you play a lot of ball. Do you have any goals with this? And I didn't want to tell him that I wanted to make my varsity baseball team in high school. Somebody with cerebral palsy making a varsity baseball team, he'd laugh at me. But for whatever reason, he always asked me that question. Every now and again, he asked me that question. And one day, I blurted out. I don't know how it came from. I just blurted out, I wanted to make my varsity baseball team in high school. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. Why did I just tell him that? He's going to laugh at me. It's not going to happen. But he looked me straight in the eyes, and he paused for a second, and he said, that's doable. And I'm like, what? He goes, 100%, Paul, your goal is definitely doable. but you got to have other people keep you accountable for this goal. I'm like, what do you mean by keep me accountable for this goal? He goes, after practice tomorrow, you're going to go in front of the team and you're going to tell the team your goal. And I'm like, no, 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 absolutely not. I do not want to tell the team that, because they're going to laugh at me if I say something silly like that. And he goes, Paul, there's gonna be times in your journey where you're not gonna feel it, and you're gonna need the accountability and the tough love from your teammates to keep you going when you have those tough moments. And you need to let the universe know and everybody know your goal so they keep you in line with this goal. So I'm like, okay, I really didn't understand it fully at the time, but this coach believed in me, so I thought I better reciprocate and do what he says by telling the team. And the next day after practice, I address the team and I'm shaking, and I tell the team my goal. And the remarkable thing about that was they didn't laugh at me either. Matter of fact, they clapped for me. So an energy shift started happening for me. So when I got into high school, I started to carry myself in a different way. I started gaining more confidence in myself, my head up, my shoulders back. And as a result of this energy that I was sending out to these kids, they started sending me a different energy. Instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. So my high school career was much different than my middle school career, all because of this energy shift. And that alone is the win. But the cherry on top of this whole situation was I was able to make my varsity baseball team as a junior and a senior. In my senior year, I pitched a 3-hit shutout. They poured the Gatorade on me, and I felt so alive. I felt so good about myself. And graduate high school, I really took a moment to reflect on that goal that I set for myself. As mentioned, I really didn't think I was going to make the team. Excuse me. I just thought it was something to do to ignore the noise, the bullying that I was facing at that time in my life. But I was able to make it happen. And I started reflecting on what that principal said to me years earlier about not being college material. See, I really listened to her, and my grades weren't very good. They were just good enough to stay eligible to play baseball, because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, why ain't going to college? Why put the extra work in? Just do enough to get by and move on with yourself. Do something else that's going to be more productive with your time. So my grades weren't great. Um, but I thought, if I can make this goal a reality, why can't I set another goal for myself to say that I am college material? So at this time, I went to a junior college because I was the only place that would accept me at the time. I got myself a math tutor. I got myself an English tutor. I went to the math lab. I did everything necessary to increase my grade point average. And I took my barely a 2.0 all the way to a 3.5, where I was able to transfer to a 4-year university, graduate, and become college material. And I so wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. I was college material all along. But I thought about it. I should thank her, because all through my college career, all my thoughts were that I wasn't material. I heard her voice in my head. My next thought was, I'll show you what I am. And so my passion came through to prove her wrong that it was college material. So I graduate college at this time, and I don't know what the heck I want to do with my life. And I had this family friend that was in the mortgage industry, and he said, we're hiring mortgage loan officers. You want to give it a go? I said, okay, cool. Well, let me try this. And I was excited. It was my first time having a real job, wearing business clothes to work. I had my own briefcase, and I was going to go in. When I got to this job, though, no one wanted to talk to me. I'm sitting alone at lunch. I'm getting ignored. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on? I haven't felt this way in middle school. Why are these people ignoring me? And I quickly realized what the problem was. See, everybody knew that I knew the CEO of the company. So it wasn't because of my talents, it's because of who I knew. So they were going to chew me up and spit me out because I really didn't belong. I didn't earn my stripes, so to speak. But I was wanting to prove them wrong as well. So I dug in. I worked the extra hours. I had a good attitude, and from afar, because they didn't want to talk to me, I was observing what top loan officers did in the company. And I remember my first day of wanting to go out in the field and get loans for the first time. It was the time where you still use paper, so I had these rate sheets that I was going to go out and pass to potential clients. And I remember my family friend CEO says, "What are you doing?" Like, "I'm ready to go. I'm going to go out in the field. I'm going to get loans." He's like, "No, you're not ready. You need a little bit more training, and then we'll send you out in a month or two." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I got this. I'm ready now. Let me go." And he looks at me and goes, "Okay, go." And 100%, he was right. I was wrong. I need more training. I'm falling on my face. These clients are abusing me. They're asking me these questions. I have no idea what the heck they're talking about. It was an absolute disaster. But slowly but surely, I did the studying. I did what I needed to do to get the knowledge that I needed to know. And slowly but surely, I discovered what value I could add to these clients. And slowly but surely, I got loans and more loans and more loans, to the point 2 years later, I became a top producer in the company. And the people that didn't want to talk to me when I first got there are now coming to me with questions on how I was able to turn everything around at such a fast clip. And I thought this was going to be my life's work. I love what I did. I couldn't. I was one of these people that loved Mondays. I couldn't wait to get back to work because I love what I did. I wasn't in a cubicle. I was traveling all around Southern California, talking to different people, selling the products, and it was just a great time in my life. Um, but things change. The economy of 2008 tanked everything, right? And so that company that I worked for, that company just went belly up. And I get another job, and that company went belly up. And this happened like 5 or 6 times. And some of these companies I was working for weren't as great as the company I first started from. So when I was starting to love Mondays, that all changed. With some of these companies I was working for, I hated Mondays. I had what I call the Smonday, the Smondays, which it's the day, that's the time in Sunday afternoon where you stop enjoying the day with your friends and family, and you start stressing over what you have to do Monday morning. And I would lose sleep because I'd be stressed out, and I'd wake up Monday morning all groggy because I couldn't go get sleep, and I'd come to a job that I wasn't liking, and I was just in a rut. I was losing my purpose, and I didn't know what to do. But I had well, the company I was at, they brought in this motivational speaker to pump us up to kind of get us going, to drum up our sales numbers. And I'm thinking at first, I'm like, I'm a top producer. I don't need this. I I can motivate myself, but it was mandatory. But something in the back of my mind said, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind about it. So I went in with an open mind, and this guy blew me away. This guy was phenomenal, to the point where I had to talk to him after to tell him how great a job he did. And he was very gracious. He allowed me to pick his brain a little bit, and he said he also does life coaching. And I'm like, maybe I want to get into that. And so I started thinking about it. I started getting my coaching cert, started telling people that I wanted to get into coaching. And I was doing it on the side. I was still doing the mortgage stuff. And at the company I was at, they monitor your social media. So they pulled me aside and said, "What is this side coaching you're doing?" And I was very transparent. And they said, "Well, this could be a conflict of interest." And they came back with this 5-page report of what I couldn't say. And I looked at this report. I'm like, there is no way I'm going to make any traction in the coaching world if I follow this to the T. So I had to make some changes. So I just did, for a year, just did all mortgage and didn't do any of the coaching. And a year later, I quit cold turkey. And people are looking at me like I'm nuts because I made President's Club. I did really, really well. Supposed to go on a cruise to thank all the top producers, and I quit. And the people said, "You're just burnt out. I guarantee you go on this cruise, you'll feel better, and you'll want to continue on." And I'm like, "No, it's bigger than that." And they're like, "Okay, you'll be back." And for a long time, I thought they're going to be right. because I wasn't getting any speaking gigs. I wasn't getting any coaching clients. I remember having to do odd jobs to make ends meet. I'm doing delivery services, and I remember sitting in my car going, "What am I doing?" I'm crying, going, "I made all this money in this mortgage industry, and now I'm barely making my bills. I need to change this up." And I need to go back, and I go, if I stop now, what I regret? And at that time, yes, it was. I would regret it. So the universe, when you're ready for the help, the universe helps me. I got myself a business coach, and the first thing he said to me, he goes, "You need to embrace your story. You're not embracing your story. How do people expect to be vulnerable with you if you're not vulnerable with them? You need to tell your story." I'm like, I don't want to tell that story. All through growing up, I wanted to bury that story. I wanted to tell a soul about that story because all I wanted to do was just be like everybody else. So just the thought of telling that story would keep me near to tears. And he's like, if you want to do business, you got to tell your story. So I started telling my story, and it was shaky at first, but I do it over and over and over again to the point where I didn't have that emotion anymore. And I remember my first client. He said, "Paul, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have X, Y, and Z. I want to be great if I could hire you." And that was years ago. And I've been building speaking clients, been building speaking engagements, rather, getting speaking clients, doing different various things. And I'm here talking with you.
That's wonderful. The one thing I want to have you talk about is mindset. I mean, yeah, you talked about it throughout in different ways, but can you give the audience some tips on how to have a positive mindset? Like, how did you, get a strong mind?
I think that, like anything else, it's practice, right? I think it's really hard to just say to somebody, have a good mindset. It doesn't work that way. It's retraining your mind to a different way of looking at things. So one of the small little things that your audience can do to start to change the way they're looking at things is this: wake up every morning and say to yourself, right? I would prefer you to write it down, but if you don't write it down, that's okay. And say to yourself, what is going well in your life right now? And you could have the crummiest of crummy days the day before, and that happens to all of us. And that positive thought could be, hey, I'm breathing. I can continue on my day. But there's always, 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 there is always something that's going well in your life. And if you can start focusing on that, your mind's a powerful tool. Your mind will say to yourself, oh, Paul's looking for more positive. Let me show him a world of positivity, because we all can go the negative way, right? We're in a negative mindset, and your mind's like, oh, well, Paul likes to see negative. I'm going to show him a world of negativity. So if your audience can do one small thing for themselves, is to start every morning and think about something that's going well in their life.
Okay, that's a great tip. That's a great tool. And what are two other tools that you could leave the audience with?
Give yourself grace. I think that in our society with technology, which technology is great, it has its downfall as well. But one of the downfalls of technology is we're used to things like this, right? We press a button, we get the information. AI's coming, need this information. AI gives us in seconds. So we start to expect our lives to be that way. Like we make this change and we expect it to be immediate, and that's just not reality. Sometimes things take time. No matter, depending on what your goal is, what you're trying to do, it could take you years to accomplish this, and you got to give yourself grace and to allow that time to say, you know what, I don't have it now, but I'm enjoying the process of doing it. And that would be my second, my other suggestion for people is enjoy the ride, enjoy the now, enjoy the present. The past is gone and the future's not guaranteed. All we really have is the now. So don't waste away that present time thinking, well, if I get X, Y, and Z, I'll feel much better, because that's nonsense. You won't. You won't. The only way you're going to feel better about yourself is feeling better about yourself right now, who you are this moment. And that's where the change will happen. If you feel like you're going to, if you get that job, make all that money, or get your business going, you make all that money. No, no, no. That's your cup. Your cup will constantly stay empty. But if you can, if you fill your cup now of feeling the gratitude and feel the happiness of who you are this moment, that's where the secret sauce happens.
I agree. Can you please also tell the audience where they can reach out to you and where they can find information?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the best way to reach out to me is uh, through my website. It's a call to action.coach. And you can follow me I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, I'm on it, and it's my name, Paul, and then my last name, Forchione.
Yeah, I find Google as a way of finding people.
Real easy.
So anyways, yes. So anyone can go to Google and they can type your name in and they can find you that way. They can go to your
Yep.
website. So that's all wonderful. And just one last tip. Share with the audience one last tip about mindset.
One last tip, I would say, if you have some sort of goal that you want to go after and you feel it's daunting, and you say to yourself, well, I need X, Y, and Z before I start it. And I'm not saying that you don't need to be prepared. Yes, obviously you want to prepare yourself, but I'm going to tell you something. You'll never ever feel 100 before you make that leap of faith. There is going to be a time where you're just going to have to jump in the pool and swim. And let me tell you something, do it. Don't live in regret. If you have something that you want to do, whether that's travel, whether that's be in a certain relationship, whether that be in a business, whatever it is, ask for promotion, ask for more money, whatever. There's always going to be an uncomfortable feeling. Go and do it. Don't stop. The worst thing, I talk to people, I volunteer sometimes in convalescent homes, and the theme of what they say is not what they accomplish. They talk about, I should have done that. I should have done that. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. Don't live your life that way. If you have it, go do it.
Perfect. I thank everybody that's joined us, and thank you, Jackie, for putting a comment. I'll respond. And Paul, I thank you so much for being with me. It was a wonderful chat. I also look forward to chatting with you again, strictly about mindset. And yeah, it'll be a wonderful conversation about mindset. So everyone go look for Paul, and I wish everyone a great day, and I'll check out with you guys next week. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
There we go.